as well as here's what we'll find very helpful in your role as Theta Chi's and as leaders on your campus. So it's our pleasure and privilege to present one of our brothers with Theta Chi's Distinguished Achievement Award this morning. The Distinguished Achievement Award of Theta Chi Fraternity recognizes alumnus members for exceptional professional accomplishments, career achievements, and community or public service. Previous recipients have been recognized as leaders in business, government, academia, athletics, entertainment, in the community, and other distinguished fields. Recipients of the Distinguished Achievement Award are also inducted into Theta Chi's Hall of Honor, which serves as both a symbolic honor for our members as well as a physical Hall of Fame at the International Headquarters Building in Carmel, Indiana. Those men selected for the Hall of Honor will have their photo prominently displayed in an impressive manner on the walls of the International Headquarters Building. Of the over 180,000 members who have been initiated into Theta Chi fraternity since our founding, only 69 men have previously received this award. This morning we will be honoring our 70th recipient. Wow. This morning's recipient is Brigadier General Stan Cherrie, a 1964 alumnus of Rutgers University and member of our Beta Delta chapter. Brother Cherrie was commissioned a second lieutenant of armor in 1964 from Rutgers University. After basic and airborne training, he was assigned to the 1st Squadron, 10th U.S. Cavalry at Fort Lewis, Washington as a platoon leader and Alpha Troop. After graduating from helicopter flight training in 1966, he was assigned to the 191st Assault Helicopter Company and flew Huey gunships in Vietnam in 1967 to 1968. He commanded H Troop, 17th Armored Cavalry, again in Vietnam in the American Division in 1971. Later, as a lieutenant colonel, he commanded 3rd Reconnaissance Squadron, 11th Armored Cavalry in Bad Hersfeld, Germany from 1981 to 1984. He served as the Chief of Staff for the 1st Armored Division from February 1986 to June 1988 in Ansbach, Germany, then moved north to Karlstedt, where he commanded a heavy brigade, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Armored Division forward for 2 years. Following brigade command, he served as the G3 Operation Officer of 7 Corps in Stuttgart, Germany, then Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Kuwait in Operation Desert Storm. He was promoted to his present flag rank in March of 1993 and served as the G3 of the Allied Command Europe, Rapid Reaction Corps, and Rheinland in Germany, and then later as the Assistant Division Commander for the 1st Armored Division in Baumholder, Germany, and Tuzla, Bosnia-Herzegovina, as the ADC of Task Force Eagle. He retired at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas in February 1998 as the ADCST West, and then spent 14 years in various leadership positions with Cubic Applications Incorporated, culminating as Vice President and General Manager of the Training and Education Division. Brother Cherrie's education includes a Bachelor's of the Arts in Psychology from Rutgers University in 1964 and a Master's in Public Administration from Shippensburg University in 1985. His military education includes attendance at the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, the British Army Staff College, and the U.S. Army War College. His awards and decorations include the Distinguished Service Medal, the Silver Star, the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, Air Medal with Valor Device, Air Medal numeral 8, and the Legion of Merit numeral 3. He is married to the former Mary Ellen Chester of Millville, New Jersey for 51 years, has 3 adult children, Brian, Victoria, and Jennifer, and 2 granddaughters, Kaylin and McKenna. Brothers, please join me in honoring Brigadier General Stan Cherrie with the Distinguished Achievement Award of Theta Chi Fraternity.
Can you get a still of that?
A true Theta Chi hero.
Regardless of whether it's through Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, the CTSC class, an adjunct professor for Upper Iowa University, I always ask my wife, I said, what do you think I ought to talk about when I talk to this grouping of my fraternity brothers next week? I need your advice. And she's over there in her matching recliner, leather recliner. You get that when you get old. Hers comes with a remote for the TV. Mine didn't. So I sit there and watch the channel go like this. Anyway, I asked her, what should I talk about? And she puts down her great big ICBM type knitting needles, aluminum knitting needles, and turns around and looks me right in the eye, and she says, about 10 minutes ought to do it. Anyway, I've often gone over in my mind all the people that I've listened to from graduation here at Rutgers, all through my Army career, my civilian career, whatever. And I can remember the Colin Powells, the Norman Schwarzkopfs, some of the secretaries of defense that would come to the CTSC. But I have a hard time really remembering the people or what they talked about. So I got to focus a little bit. So this entire day is all about leadership. So it didn't take me too long to figure out that I ought to say a little something about leadership. I spent the better part of my adult life, 34 years in the Army, and that's all about when you're an officer. The raison d'etre is leadership, and every asset or facet of leadership. Since the assembled group here, you're talking about leading a fraternity team. I want to talk a little bit about one of the sub-qualifications or sub-facets of leadership, and that's about teamwork. And I want to highlight teamwork and talk about getting the best you can out of every member of the team. And I'll give you three examples that clarify that point, and I think bring that point home. Before I get started, I should let you know a little bit about who this white-haired, slightly beat-up old guy is here, and a little bit of the bona fides that I bring to the talk this morning. My roots are planted I was born in the Bronx, so I guess I was a Yankee fan until I moved to South Jersey, and then I became a Phillies fan, and an Eagles fan that we talked about, and definitely a Flyers fan. And just before we talked, I said to my fraternity brother here, I said, you haven't said anything about the Roadway Bullies yet. And the next guy up, there he was, talking about that. I've grown up in South Jersey, a town called Maurice. It's spelled Mauricetown. We say Morristown, but it's a small town of about 300 just off the Delaware Bay, where oyster boat captains who were under sail used to go out oystering, and in the winter they bring their boats up and put them up on the bank, run them into the bank, and the sailors were getting crushed with the ice. Well, all the people when I was growing up were about my age now. So it was a good place. It had all the trappings of a Huck Finn surrounding. We had a tidal river, we had meadows. I went fishing, I went crabbing. In the fall and the winter, we went trapping for muskrats. We made a ball field out of a cow pasture, the left field fence, which I can tell you by prime authority, had a 3-strand barbed wire fence, because I ran into that a couple of times. But we engaged in playing 3 men on the side, because there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of kids in a 300-person town. But we were in it for just the absolute joy of playing baseball. You got maybe 6 kids there, and choosing up sides with the bat, and whoever gets the top gets the pick. That's where we first learned a little bit about teamwork, and the simple fact that there are strong people on a team. That's why you chose who went first. You try to pick the best out of the 6 guys or whatever. But my point today is you got to use every member on the team, whether they're a superstar or not. Along with that, even though it was 3 men on the side baseball, you were in it to win. You don't play baseball against one another to come in second place. That's just the way Americans are. If you're not in it to win, you ought not even be playing. This is long before Little League, where everybody had uniforms, and you had cleats, and we had a couple of baseballs. I'm not trying to say, back when I was little, but we had. And we thought we were in Tall Cotton if we had a bat and 2 or 3 baseballs, you know, a couple of us even had gloves. But we learned how to be a part of a team. And you learned a little bit about, you didn't really know it then, you had a few leadership classes on later on in your career. But there's a certain spark of cohesion among that 3 folks. I don't care whether you have 3 folks or you've got 150,000 folks on a team, it's all the same. Now I'll talk a little bit about that teamwork and how to capitalize on that. In 1960, I left South Jersey and came up here to the metropolis of New Brunswick and signed up as a freshman. Back then, you were either a bio-sci or you were an engineer. Everyone wanted to be a doctor or an engineer. And they called that baby out about the first semester. I lasted all the way up until the second semester of the sophomore year. And I'm not proud of it, but I got asked to leave the university. And if it weren't for the football team getting me back here to summer school or whatever, switched to liberal arts and had the grades to stay in it and graduate. But when I was here in college, I played freshman football and freshman baseball, and I was also in ROTC. When back in the 60s, you had to either take Air Force or ROTC for 2 years. And I kind of like that. I like that structured lifestyle, a little bit of a Spartan lifestyle. I got to be in and around squads, platoons, and companies, and it taught me a little bit more about being part of a team. I like the sports teams, but this was an entirely different type of team, but they had the same tenets, if you will. I entered the service, as Mike told you, in 1964 as a second lieutenant of armor, and I went off to command a platoon of 42 men in Fort Lewis, Washington. And I thought the allure was the tanks. I still love them. The personnel carriers, the mortars, the weaponry, and a slightly Spartan lifestyle. But that wasn't really what hooked me. It was the soldiers. It's just like fraternity brothers. You got these 42 people. Many of the enlisted were younger than you, but all the non-commissioned officers, almost all of them, were much older than you. And you're almost like their older son, if you will. But you learned that this is a team, and you were part of that team, and you just happened to be the leader of that team. And I also learned that just like the 3 men on the side baseball, no matter what team you're talking about, you've got people that are strong in some area and weak, and you need to search through that, and I'll talk a little bit about that.